morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever may be the case. When you're seeing this video, some of y'all who know me well know I like to read books, and I'm reading one now, The Noticer Returns by Andy Andrews. And two words, but it was two sentences, came up in there and made me think of some people, some current situations, people at our church, and we all know people who are going through something, battling sickness, whatever the case may, hard times, whatever you want to call it. Everybody, if you're not battling something, you know somebody who is. And we've got a lot of sickness and needs in our church, and a couple of texts this morning of people, families in our church that are facing some battles to come. But there was this, it's just two words, but it was broke down into two separate sentences that come across in that book, and it really hit me, and it made me think of this scripture, so I just wanted to share it with you as not so much, I guess, a devotional today, but maybe an inspirational, if that, just to give you maybe some inspiration to go a little bit further. But the two words that made the two sentences were walk on. And really, that's all the choice we have in life. Life's going to come at us. Life's going to throw hard things at us. And, well, we have two choices. We can sit down and quit, or we can walk on. We can keep going. Because we're not promised a rose garden. We're not promised that everything's going to be smooth and easy through life, but we still have to keep walking. We still have to keep going. And I want to look at a passage of scripture found in Matthew chapter 14, several verses here, 14, 22 through 31, and I'm going to try to put them across the bottom so you can read along with me as I go. Very familiar passage. I've heard it preached several different ways, a lot of times about what happened when Peter took his eyes off of Jesus. This is Peter walking on water. When Peter took his eyes off of Jesus, how he began to sink. But I want to look at something just a little bit different. So let's read the scripture. It says, starting in Matthew 14, verse 22, it says, "And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitude away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary." Let's just imagine that's where we're at in life. We're in the middle of the sea, and we're being tossed about in the waves. Okay? It says, "And the fourth watch of the night, and in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out in fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the water, out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and he beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? My thought on that and keep walking come from verse 30, when it says Peter looked about and he saw the boisterous winds, he saw the waves, he saw all this bad stuff, and he began to be afraid, and that's when he began to sink. We're going to look about us at times, and there's going to be boisterous waves, winds, troubles in life, and it's easy to look at those things and get distracted from what God is doing for us, what God's already brought us through. It's easy to forget all the great things that He's already seen us through. It's easy to focus on the storms of life instead of the testimony that God's going to give us on the other side of this test. But I want to encourage you today, if you're going through one of these storms, if you're battling illness, if your family's battling illness, whatever it is, if it's financial problems, if it's marital problems, whatever it is, to just keep walking. Peter here, if he'd have kept his eyes on Jesus and just kept walking, all these things were around him, and it was rough. The seas were rough and all. But Jesus had the answer that he needed. Jesus was the answer that he needed. And he just needed to keep walking. Sometimes we get caught up in all the problems. We get caught up in the test results. We get caught up in hearing things like cancer, or there's not much we can do, or when man gives you a timeline and says you've got X of it. Only God knows those things. But we have the choice to give up or to keep walking. And I've come too far to just sit down. I've come too far to quit walking. What else am I going to do? Peter said at one point, Jesus said he had all these people following him, and he told them how it was going to get hard. And I believe it was 70 of them turned and went away, and he looked at the 12 disciples and he said, are y'all not going to leave too? And Peter said, where are we going to go? If I'm not going to keep walking, what am I going to do? What else is there to do but keep striving, keep trying, keep praying, keep studying, keep the faith, and keep doing what God would have me to do? That's all I know to do. That's all I can do. So today, when the storm around you seems like it's too much, walk on. Keep going. Keep doing what God would have you to do. Keep your eyes focused on Him. Don't focus on the storm. Focus on the one who controls the storm. Maybe that was a little inspiration, a little help for somebody out there today. And we'll check with you next time.